What's going on, guys? In the works, and it has been a few days since I've done a video. I've actually felt kind of guilty about it because I just haven't had the time to bring you guys a video. It's just been a pretty hectic couple of days. I actually bought a new car yesterday, so pretty exciting. The first new car I've bought in 10 years. I tend to be one that makes sure that I run what I buy into the ground, and my last one served me well, but it was definitely time to upgrade. But luckily I did find some time to play some Battlefield 3, and this is actually one round here on Grand Bazaar. I typically don't show just like a full round, but I thought this round was interesting because I'm using the M60, which a lot of people don't like the M60. Some people really love it. It's either a love it or hate it weapon, and this is an interesting round because I join it right as we get pushed all the way back on the first set of objectives before I spawn in. And I think this is going to be a pretty good example of how you can just completely lock down a team with a weapon like the M60. You know, these LMGs are game changers. I think a lot of people tend to underestimate just how good one person can be with an LMG, just holding down a complete corridor. Like you see on Grand Bazaar, there's tons and tons of corridors. And suppression is a big mechanic. I mean, it's a mechanic that a lot of people, you know, they get pretty mad about it. I think one of the most polarizing topics besides sniping in Battlefield 3 is probably suppression. It seems like a lot of people are on the fence on whether or not they want to see it return in Battlefield 4 in the same, capacity that it's in Battlefield 3. And I'm not really sure personally. Like, I've thought about doing a video on this many times, and I always get derailed because it's like, man, if I pick the wrong side, people are going to freak out, and if I pick the side that the other people don't like, they're going to freak out. So suppression is a little bit of a touchy subject among Battlefield players, but the M60 does it well. As you see me go into town here, and I'm finally taken down there with a nice little 10-piece to start off this defense round. So not too shabby, considering that that's a lot of lives those guys lost. I pushed them back, kept them from spawning all the way up there, and honestly, the M60 is a game changer. If there's one thing it does well, it's holding down corridors, it's suppressing people, it's keeping them from pushing forward. And like I mentioned, Grand Bazaar has a ton of those corridors. And a lot of times in Battlefield 3 when you're playing, you're like, well, one person can't really make that big of a difference, one person can't change the tide of battle. And I think it depends. I think support actually has the ability to completely derail a team from pushing forward. And that's the biggest strategy you could ever learn to kind of master here on Grand Bazaar, is learning to keep them from pushing forward. Because once they get you pushed back, once they start moving you down into these alleyways further and further back, you start to lose your grip, they start to just flow right in, and then it's basically game over. Especially if they get the far back incom, once they get that, they can pretty much surround you and it's game over. But let's talk a little bit about being a game changer. Because I think it's a pretty common accepted fact that one man by himself in a squad of randoms can't really change the tide of a game. Like you could in like a game like Halo, Call of Duty, Medal of Honor, any of those games where the player counts are much lower and it's much more centric on one person. One person can really dominate in like Halo and Call of Duty, whereas in Battlefield, it takes a really solid team effort to really prevail a lot of times, because some of these rush maps can be very tricky. But I think what the M60 does well is it allows you to actually make an impact. It's definitely not going to win a rate of fire battle. I mean, if you look at it on the outside, what is the M60? A high damage, low firing, it's got a lot of recoil, but it's made to be bipoded. If you're using the M60 without a bipod, you're probably doing it wrong. But with suppression being such a big mechanic in Battlefield 3, you've got to use that to your advantage. You can see I have squad suppression on, and I'm just firing down the alleyway. Am I getting a ton of kills? No. Am I getting mortared? Yes, which, that was kind of frustrating. But what I am doing is I'm keeping them from knowing where my teammates are. They probably know where my bullets are coming from. It's pretty obvious when an M60 is sitting at the end of the alleyway, firing off hundreds of rounds at you. You're pretty much going to know where that's coming from, but it's keeping them suppressed, and at the same time, it's allowing your teammates to advance up a little bit to kind of reclaim that's the alleyway we lost. And I really think that the M60 and some of these big heavy LMGs can be game changers, versus if I had just an M16 here, I really wouldn't be able to do much. Granted, the M16 would probably beat me up close. I will be the first to admit that. But when it comes to suppressing the enemy, when it comes to giving your team ammo, when it comes to just being a complete disruptor, I don't think really too many weapon classes do it better than the the big belt-fed LMGs, and that's why I do enjoy using these. This one, the M240 Bravo, and the PKP are probably your best bets in that. So never let anyone tell you that one person can't change the tide of a Battlefield 3 battle, because it definitely is possible. It just takes the right weapon takes the right mentality. Now, a lot of people would watch this and be like, well, Jake, you're not really getting any kills. Are you really helping the team that much? And yes, guys, this kind of stuff does help the team. You're keeping those guys from pushing through that alleyway. Now, did some people get behind us? Yes, but that's where, you know, another area where it's like, well, you know, your teammates should have helped you there. You can only do so much. You can only be in so many places at once. But fortunately for me, the main thing that we need to worry about is the alleyway right in front of me and the alleyway to the right. Beyond that, I don't have to worry about them really flowing out anywhere else. I can trust my teammates to pick up the guys behind us and really just control the rest of the battlefield while I hold down these key corridors. Because once they start flowing out of there, pretty much got no chance. So M60 PKP 240 Bravo, they are game changers. They are heavy hitters. They don't fire really fast. Well, with the exception of 240 Bravo, it does fire a little fast, I guess, 650 rounds per minute, but for the most part, you're going to lose your battles up close to like the M16 if they get the first shot, just because they're going to get more rounds on target before you can actually get there. So use the bipod, use the extended mags, hold down those corridors, guys, and I think that you can actually have an effect and be a one-man show, because let's face it, I was probably the most useful person on my team, considering that I only actually played one round, but pretty successful round. I thought I'd share it with you guys. I know I normally don't do this, but it's nice to see a full in the works gameplay for once. But if you missed some of my past videos, here's a chance to catch up, and I will talk to you guys later. Peace.